So, as many of you know, I enjoy my playtime. And so we're going to be talking about how to accomplish more in less time. And, you know, as many of you know, my wife and I travel 7 months out of the year, and we're typically gone 10 days a month. And on excursions like this one to Alaska, we may be gone 2 weeks or more. So, what is it that enables me to do this? And very simply, I manage energy, not time. And by that, I mean I align my effort with my natural energy flow. So, what does that look like? Well, here's my energy schedule. Here's my typical work day based on energy. I normally start at 6:30 in the morning. And when I wake up, my mind wakes up instantly, just like that. The body a few hours later, but the mind's working right away. So 6:30 to 10 is when I do my creative work. This is when I'll write, where I will uh, develop new offerings, develop a new marketing campaign. These are when I hold my meetings. But this is all the time when my mind's most creative and when I'm most effective. And somewhere around 10 o'clock, then I lose that creative energy. It wanes, and I shift over to more mundane tasks, the things we business owners all have to do that aren't necessarily the most exciting aspects of what we do. So this is when I might edit what I've written a day or two previously, or I'll review my financials, or I'll do the bookkeeping, order office supplies from Mark Breimer. These are the things that don't require a lot of mental energy in order to accomplish. And then at noon, I stop and I take an hour of uninterrupted lunch. So often, after eating lunch, during this 1 hour, I'll do some reading, or I may take a short nap if I'm not feeling particularly energetic. But I take a full hour uninterrupted. And then from 1 to 3, this is an optional time frame. Some days the creative juices start flowing again, and I'll do some creative work. On days when that doesn't happen, I'll revert to the mundane tasks, or sometimes I'll have meetings during the same time frame. So I leave that kind of optional and let it flow with my energy that day. Then I hit the wall around 3 in the afternoon. And at that time, that's when I go and exercise. And that gets me rejuvenated. On days when I'm not feeling particularly well, then I might take a nap instead. But most days I'll exercise during that time frame. And then at 4 o'clock, I spend that time reading. And I read with the intent of learning something new, but I find I can learn something new from a Patterson novel as well as a business book. So, I don't limit myself in that regard. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you before we move on to the next segment is that I start my day at 6:30 and it goes till noon. So that's 5.5 hours. And then I resume at 1 and go till 3. It's an additional 2 hours. So my workday is actually 7.5 hours. It's not the traditional 8 that we talk about. And I want to point that out to you because now I'm going to ask you to do an exercise in which you map your energy day. Okay. And I've listed some categories here on the left: creative, meetings, mundane, exercise, education. Those are the ones that I use. Feel free to use whatever works for you. Use the starting time that works for you. I know some people have told me they get up at 4 and start exercising. Couldn't happen for me, but it works for them. Other people tell me I can't get rolling before 10 in the morning. It just doesn't work. So pick your start time, but limit your workday to 8.5 hours. I'll give you a little cushion there over mine. Limit it to 8.5 hours. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and list your workday. And the reason I'm limiting it to a minute is that I don't want you to overthink it. Go with your natural reactions. Your normal instinct about where your energy is best is going to work best for you. So we'll start that time now. Okay, time's up. Would anybody care to share what they've learned about their energy flow and how it's going to affect their schedule?
Yeah, Dale, I'm much like you. I'm a morning person, one of those evil, irritating morning people. I know that because my wife is not. But I do. I get up and I can start in right away. And so I can do more of my creative stuff. Um, and energy requiring tasks in the morning. And then by the afternoon, I kind of wane off. And that's where I can really get into the, like you said, the mundane stuff, the rote stuff, the stuff that doesn't take the right side of my brain. I can do more of my left brain tasks at that point in time. I realize I've kind of gotten into that without making it formal. I've done that just kind of a natural progression. It certainly varies because of what you have to do day to day. Some things take immediate focus, but that's much of the same mindset.
Good, good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll
I-
share that going through this process, I know I'm a morning person. I too, I like to do exercising and any of my detailed creative work first thing in the morning. So anytime between that 6:30 to noon time is my best time to really concentrate and or exert that energy. However, in putting this schedule together of what my ideal is versus what my actual is, I found that, kids' schedules, activities, driving back and forth, like getting up and doing some things. Well, it's easier for me to take a short period of time to knock out emails while I'm waiting for the kids to get ready to take them to school and then get to my office to start, which kicks out exercise time because I really don't have time to exercise fully when now that they're back in school in person and I'm back in the office. It really changes that schedule. So it brought to light for me of maybe taking some time to figure out how I can tweak it to make it better align.
Good, good. Yeah, and realize that, the schedules have to be flexible. I mean, there are days when I start writing during those early hours and it's just not working. It's just not flowing well. And I will shift to some other creative work at that point. So recognize that, this is the plan and this is where I'm most effective, but on a day-to-day basis, that can change depending on how you're feeling that day. So, yeah, good point, Lori. Thank you.
Dale, Andy said, where do you put production?
Well, all of that is production. The creative work, if I'm doing client work during that creative time, then I'm producing. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, he says.
Kind of. What's missing, Andy?
I guess for me, Dale, when you're doing accounting and although the tax work is creative work, just focused production work is frequently not that creative, at least for me. I mean, it certainly does have its moments because that's what we do well, but I guess it's a combination of creative, mundane. But again, and I guess administrative work would also be in there. So yeah, I do poorly on big blocks of times, and that's one of the things I know I need to work on is focus.
Yeah, well, in terms of the production, I guess I would look at it this way. If I'm serving a client, then I want to use my most creative energy. Even if some of the work that I'm doing there is something that I've done so often, it's almost rote, it's almost automatic. But I will do that during the creative times because there's less likelihood that I'll make a mistake. When I'm working on mundane tasks, I'm not as focused and I'm not as creative. So it's the kinds of things where if I make a mistake, it's not going to really hurt me that much. So, I look at it that way.
I really like the focus on managing energy instead of time. Not too long ago, I just experienced a pretty severe bout of burnout, and I found myself with plenty of time to do everything I needed to do, but the energy was just really, really tough to come by. I think that's a great concept. But as for me, as far as scheduling, I find that whatever's the most important thing for my day, if I do it first. I also am a morning person, and that's just my best energy, most creative, and most productive. So whatever's most important is what I tend to do first.
Good. Well put. Yeah. And what I find is that when I'm going with a natural energy flow, I accomplish a lot more quickly. It's how I can get by with a 7.5 hour workday. It's how I can travel as often as I do and as much as I do, because I just accomplish a whole lot more when I'm not operating against my natural energy flow. And you'll notice that in my schedule, there's me time, the exercise time and the reading. That's me time. Those are my rewards for having done other things well. Any others? All right, with that, I'm going to turn you over to Kathy Sexton, and she's going to share us some gems about focus.